Olivia, you're here to tell me about some legal changes north of the border which will affect gender reassignment. What's happened?
Well, this is hugely controversial legislation which has been going through Holyrood for the past couple of months. And essentially what it will do when it is passed this evening, which it almost certainly will be, is make it possible for Scots to change their legal sex after just 3 months of living in their acquired gender without any form of medical intervention or even a gender dysphoria diagnosis. So it essentially removes all checks and balances around gender reassignment. At the moment, it's a much more complicated process. You need to basically prove that you are transgender. This is controversial because obviously, it runs the risks of running roughshod over women's rights and making it easier for those who aren't actually transgender but are posing as transgender to gain access to women's spaces by claiming to be living in the wrong sex, essentially.
So kind of in theory, if you're a male criminal waiting to go to prison for your sentencing, and that's going to take longer than 3 months, you could then just say, I am now a woman, and go to a women's prison.
Yes, and what is quite extraordinary about this is last night was the last set of amendments being debated in Holyrood, and it was the latest. I was just been talking to a woman who was there watching it all unfold, and it was the latest that Holyrood has ever sat. There's nothing urgent about this legislation. The only urgency behind the legislation is that Nicola Sturgeon wants to get it through before Christmas. It seems because one of her closest allies, Kate Forbes, is on maternity leave, and she is against this legislation. And Nicola Sturgeon, it seems, wants to get it through before Kate Forbes gets back from maternity leave. So there was a 10-hour sitting last night, ending at 2 a.m, while all sorts of amendments were discussed. One of the amendments which was rejected was an amendment which would stop those who've been accused of sex crimes from gaining a gender recognition certificate before they've been tried.
Right.
Which that amendment would have prevented the scenario that you just laid out. But it was rejected. So that could still happen. It has caused a massive rupture in Holyrood, as you would expect. And what's particularly interesting about it politically is that there are plenty of SNP MSPs who are very much against this legislation. There was Ash Regan, of course, who famously resigned from the government last month about it. But we can expect to see quite a big SNP rebellion this evening, which puts quite a lot of strain on Nicola Sturgeon's grip on power.
It's fascinating. Could just stop the world, Olivia. I think I want to get off on days like this. I'm not sure I can live on this planet anymore, can you? Let me know what you think about that. Thank you for bringing us up to speed, and no doubt we might talk about it tomorrow, depending on what happens this evening. Thanks, Olivia Utley there.